Hey, hello everybody. Margaret Williams here. I am the author of the Empowered Leader publication. Okay, I help marginalized leaders. Okay, um, to increase their visibility, freedom, and authority. Okay, and
Perfect.
today I am so honored to have Walter Rhein as well as John Liccione. Did I say your name correct, John?
It's a CH, Liccione.
Liccione.
Okay, you said it right. Thank you very much. All right. So, John here, he's a congressional campaign candidate in Florida's 13th district. Okay. John shares his background as a former Air Force NSA intelligence analyst running as the rebel Democrat and discussed his focus on combating child sex trafficking and election integrity issues. Okay, they explore potential topics for this interview to talk about election integrity through his company, Bellatier, and his plans to address child safety if elected. Okay, so I am honored to have John here to tell his story to us today. I am honored, sir. Thank you for your service, and please tell us why you're here today and tell us your story.
Well, thanks for inviting me on. I ran in 2024 in the same district, and I lost in the Democratic primary to Whitney Fox, who lost to Anna Luna by like 9 points. And I wasn't going to run again. I formed a new company, a startup called Ballatier. We make elections tenable is our slogan. And all of a sudden, and then I watched the Renee Good, Alex Preddy murders and in Minneapolis. And I was like, yeah, I got to run again. Right. The world wasn't ready. The Democratic Party wasn't ready for a rebel Democrat like me in 2024. Maybe the world and the Democratic Party is now. Right. We got to stop electing, nice people. Right. We in the Democratic Party, we got to elect some fighters. Like Patrick Swayze said in the movie Roadhouse, there's a time to be nice and a time to not be nice. And this is that time. Right. I'm running to be the General Norman Schwarzkopf in the war on child sex trafficking. We're going to cut it off and we're going to kill it. We're going to take $100 billion from mass deportation ICE budget, move it over to the anti-child sex trafficking mass pedophile deportation budget, and roll up those financial networks. Okay, I'm going to go off on this, so I don't want to talk. Let me open it up before I go on more of a rant here. So that's sort of
yes, sir.
I thought you were doing great. I think you should keep going. I mean, exactly that.
Sir. Exactly.
All right. So, kids first above all else was my campaign slogan in 2024, and it's my campaign slogan in 2026. And I took it up a notch by declaring all domain war on child sex trafficking. By all domain, I'm talking about in cyber, financials, from space with our recon capabilities, from space, drones, instead of droning American citizens that aren't pedophiles, maybe we should use recon drones to track pedophiles in the networks and the sex trafficking networks. And instead of just arresting the low-level pedophiles, we need to, it's a pedophile RICO system that's international, right? So with our allied partners, our intel agencies, I got the chops. I want to sit on the House Intelligence Oversight Committee, right? And start kicking some ass and taking names. I used to stand watch against the North Korea from NSA's National SIGINT Operations Center when I was 25 or 22 in the Air Force, and then as a civilian NSA analyst. And I used to task satellites from orbit when I was 24 years old on behalf of American security. And I never spied on Americans. I spied on the North Koreans back before they had nukes. So, by not putting kids first in our decision making, our investments in money, in programs, whether it's mental health, whether it's food, whether it's reducing the abortion rate, but for the people that women that want to carry their children to term but can't afford it, we need to be investing there too, preemptive, right? It's not just about abandoning children after for disadvantaged families after they're born. We got to invest in that too if we want to bring down that rate, and that's having more babies instead of throwing doctors and women in prison. So that's a little drift, but putting things first above all else. And so that's my main plank. It is Anna Paulina Luna's biggest vulnerability because she's I call her the queen of the guardians of the pedophiles, and she voted no to bring the Epstein petition to the Epstein vote to the House floor. She refused to sign the Epstein petition. And then till Daddy said, okay, they're going to override my veto. You can go ahead and vote for the Epstein discharge, release. Then she voted yes. That's when it doesn't matter anymore, right? So it's like all performative. She's like the cosplay congresswoman. She's like Kristi Noem, about 20 years younger, that never shot a dog, right? So that's plank number one. It was plank number one in 2024. The Democratic Party didn't want to hear it because it's hard to hear to talk about child rape and child sex trafficking, but we have to bear witness, all of us. We have to put that aside and accept that this evil, and it's even worse than we think it is, right? You've heard about, the whole sacrifice and eating. It ain't QAnon, Pizzagate bullshit. That's a Russian cover. That's a Russian cover story. And in 2019, I wrote a book called The Grand Unifying Theory of Putin-Trump. And when I say Putin-Trump, they're like, it's a dash, right? It's one integrated evil entity, two pedophile presidents as the apex predators on top of the world's two largest nuclear arsenals, right? And it's a corrupt international RICO enterprise. And we're seeing it. People didn't see that back in 2019. Not really. Yeah. And so in that lane, the second lane I'm pushing for is in the election integrity defense domain. That's in the category of defending democracy, right? And our right to vote, the right to not have our systems get hacked, the right to prevent, not have Elon Musk from his Starlink satellite direct to sell to the UPS devices attached to the voting machines, the counting machines, so that he can hack and subtract one out of every 10 Democratic votes. Yeah, that's the sort of stuff I'm attacking, and I'm not doing it. I'm not just talking about it like the other, Democratic candidates in my race, which are all good people, but I'm actually engaging with my own funds, my own life savings, offensive election integrity lawfare. I'm suing Donald Trump for violating his own election integrity executive order. I'm the only, I think I was the first person, maybe the only person in the nation, and the first that after he passed this executive order in March 25th, I think it was last year, I think it was 3 weeks, 2 weeks later, or maybe a month later, I sued him for violating his own EO, election integrity EO, up in D.C., U.S. court. I filed it on the original complaint on April 7th. So February 25th or March 25th, April 7th. What is that? 6 plus 7. That's 13 days. I was first to market with offensive lawfare against Donald Trump. And then I filed a follow-up First Amendment complaint where I added Trump. I ended Bondi, Kash Patel, Janine Pirro up as EC U.S. Attorney. Ron DeSantis, VR Systems, that's a name, a voting election software company you're going to hear a lot about, suing them for election records RICO wire fraud, right?
Wow.
Publishing known fake election records, knowing they're fake in the hundreds of thousands. I sued in my last election for what these election records, if you read them, they're like bank statements, if you will, that show transactions, and if you think of your bank statements, your bank publishes financial statements to you and you trust them, right? And when you see a transaction that you didn't make, you file a fraud claim, right? That's how it works. You got Sarbanes-Oxley governs it all. And the bank takes that in. They're required to investigate it. They report back to you, and they either grant it or don't. Right now, imagine if the bank published to you statements like over 6 months that had these fraud transactions that you thought were fraud because you knew you didn't make them, and when you file your claim, they ghost you. They ghost you, right? And like, why are they ghosting me? Then you never hear back. So you end up suing them, right? For whatever, a participant in a fraud scheme, right? And then they file motions to dismiss. They file motions to, what do you call it? The discovery, to quash discovery. And the corrupt judges dismiss the case. And you're like, what the hell? This is bank fraud, right? And then you find out after like 6 months later, you find out that it was a software bug in the financial transaction system, the processing system. So it's a bug creating fake bank statements showing fraud that hadn't occurred.
Okay.
Right? Inducing you, deceiving you, even after they knew about the bug, into thinking it was real fraud when it wasn't. And you sued them, you spent money suing them, maybe you hire a lawyer. Now switch to the election domain, right? Mm-hmm. That's what happened with the election bank of Florida. Think of it as the election bank, right?
Okay.
And each county has a supervisor elections. That's the branch, the county branch. And then they have sub branches that are the polling stations. Well, when people order their ballots for mail-in ballots in Florida, they use VR systems, so the voter registration election management system. There's a date that you order the ballot, that you request the ballot. That's the transaction that comes in over the internet, or maybe over, you go into the supervisor, do it in person. So it records the transaction. That transaction record, that artifact, that's an immutable transaction. It's supposed to be, just like a bank transaction, right? And it turned out that there was a software bug with VR Systems voter focus software that's the registration and processing system for mail ballots. And they have to publish vote by mail reports daily in a run-up to election to candidates and to political parties that are qualified under the law in Florida. Well, it turned out they were on 6/23/24. They published a vote by mail report and did it over and over again, 75 times, that had over 219,000 what I call no ballot requests. Like this massive spike. Usually you get maybe 500, 1,000 requests a day, right, in a run-up. Here's this spike on one day, a single day spike of 219,000 vote by mail requests, right? It's obviously an anomaly, right? But the key was in the two fields that had did they provide their ID number, and did it match the voter registration? It had an N in Social 4, and it had an N in Florida ID driver's license. N means that the voter didn't provide an ID number. Y means they did provide an ID number. Right? They were both no-nos, right? A massive spike on a single date, and they're all no ballot requests. So me, the only Democrat, and about 6 Republicans, all sued for mail ballot fraud, because the election bank statements on their face said massive mail ballot fraud had occurred, and we lost because of mail ballot fraud, right? So I'm spending all this money suing pro se, no lawyer will take the case. They're all lame-o. These lawyers, they're all scared of Trump. And Chris Gleason, who's primarying Ashley Moody for senator down here, filed, all for the same reason. We all have access to these same vote by mail reports. And they kept publishing through the whole election in the primary. They kept publishing the same fake reports. I didn't know they were fake. I thought they were true, right? They published another 75 in the general election in 2024, 75 vote by mail reports, up to 99.95% fake. Falsified official election records due to a database software issue in the VR Systems voter focus software, right? So the first date of known falsity was the date that I served my lawsuit on the supervisor elections. I call that 0 day of known falsity, right? Once they have 2 sets of books, right? They have these fake falsified vote by mail reports they publish to me, And then they have the second set of internal books. Oh yeah, there's this anomaly. Oh, but they really did provide their ID numbers, and the data is wrong. We have the real data in these other set of books, right? They concealed all that and continued publishing these daily falsified vote by mail reports that triggered like 7 lawsuits, spending all this money defending their election, results, when all they had to do was notify us, don't rely on them, there's a bug. That's all they had to do. There's this workaround. We're going to, manually produce these reports. I'm a software intel guy. Yeah. I've launched software companies and brought products to market. And when you have a bug, it's not it's not the end of the world. As long as it's like getting hacked. You got to notify your customers. Yeah. Well, I was a consumer of the reports.
Margaret, do you have any? This has been fascinating. I got a lot of thoughts though, but Margaret, I want to defer to you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Walter.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. And now, do you have a legal background? I've forgotten already because I think you said.
Well, I got the law in my blood.
Okay.
It's like that Sylvester Stallone show. What is the Tulsa Kingpin or whatever?
Oh yeah.
He says, I'm not a lawyer, but I got a lot of experience with the law. Right? Some good, some bad. Yeah. I've been falsely imprisoned, found not guilty, and all this stuff. Okay. I won't get into that. Just know that I've been, screwed by the man. And beat it, right?
That's the system. The system needs to be fixed. I always like to start these talks off. It's just I always say thank you for being of the new generation of candidates who's willing to talk to the people, because we have this the current crop of Democrats refuses to answer any questions. They're quite happy to go on right-wing media. And maybe what we're seeing is our current crop of Democrats are happy to do that because they know they won't get asked questions about election integrity. And so it's just like we've also seen, and I keep bringing this back up, after the 2020 election, we gave the Democrats enough power to stop the rise of fascism. They can't blame the voters anymore because they had the majority. They had enough, and people are going to be like, it's more complicated. It's not that complicated. They could have done a lot of things. Once you have the presidency, you have the House, you have the Senate, you can fix things. And so we need a new generation of leadership who's willing to have these conversations and to just this stubbornness on the part of the current crop of Democrats, because we keep seeing, and what you're talking about is complex, but we're seeing the SAVE Act. That's an effort to steal elections. We see gerrymandering. That's an effort to steal elections. They have voting roll purges. They spoil ballots. In North Carolina, they tried to discard, I think, 60-some thousand votes because they wanted to steal a Supreme Court seat. And we have a set of Democrats that even when the election is close enough, like it was in Pennsylvania with Casey, the Senator Casey, even when it's close enough for a mandatory recount, he says, I concede, because he wants to save the taxpayers the $1 million that would have cost. And the consequence of that is we get a government that's spending billions of dollars a day on an unconstitutional war, where they're spending billions of dollars hiring people. We don't know who they are because they won't tell us their identity. For all we know, I want assurances that everybody who is hired to be a federal officer isn't a pedophile, isn't a rapist, and so I think we should have some insight and some transparency into that. So again, just thank you for at least engaging, because the American public is not filled with inept people, and we can tell when something doesn't add up. We know how to do basic mathematics, and all this starts with these conversations. The tech aspect of what you're doing is going over my head a little bit. Have you talked with This Will Hold? They do a lot of elections.
Yeah, she ran. This Will Hold ran a story on my election lawsuit, because it turned out that one side, a county attorney leaked to me. He said to me on the phone, John, we got the ID numbers of these no ballot requesters. They didn't really order it on that date. It's a VR Systems software issue that requires a patch, right? My head exploded. After 6 months of litigation, the first crack in the dike, somebody just told me the truth, and it meant that I had been suing for the wrong reasons for the last 6 months. And so it turned out it was a software defect, right?
That's verified now? You absolutely are confident it was a software?
I've got a smoking gun email now. Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's the Supervisor Elections General Counsel wrote an email to the Sixth Circuit State Attorney, which I now have in my possession, where Matt Smith, he says it's a database software issue, quote unquote. VR Systems related to John Liccione's legal stuff. It's a database software issue. And then there's a bunch of redactions, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I've got that, and I filed that in court in a separate case I filed against the corrupt Sixth Circuit State Attorney Bruce Bartlett. So that's Liccione versus Bartlett in the Sixth Circuit here in Pinellas County. It's a public records enforcement, and it was because of that lawsuit I got the smoking gun email, and that case is serious. It's this little public records case down here that's blowing the whole thing, the whole conspiracy wide open. They can't cover it up anymore.
Start pulling the thread.
And
this is all in relation to November 2024. Is that right?
And it crosses elections. I think it went undetected since 2023 or 2020. Maybe back to the 2020 election, but when they introduced the version of software that had this, defect in it, but it was caught in August of 2024 by a bunch of, by Chris Gleason caught it and told me, he's a MAGA Republican, and so he's a man of honor, right? Because he's primarying Ashley Moody, who's corrupt and taking China money. So I could, I met him, and we fight all the time. We fight like brothers,
healthy fighting,
right? But not on election integrity. Not on election.
Oh, good.
My question.
Go ahead.
My question is, I worked for the government for 39 years, and we have to have these QA checks on all these systems. Who's to say that these irregularities are not going on in other states?
Oh yeah, VR systems, just VR systems itself. This is in the Mueller indictments for the GRU hackers back in 2016. VR systems got hacked in 2016 by Russian GRU. It's in the Mueller indictment. Reality Winner leaked the NSA report that admitted it. She got arrested to the Intercept. She got arrested. So Russia's been inside VR systems since 2016, and there's no record of them having been taken out, publicly. The malware removed, and then we got Elon Musk coming in, right? So VR systems is in at least 8 states. They're not the market leader election management system. There, we hear about Dominion and ESS and these other companies, Smartmatic, but VR Systems get their contracts sole source in Florida. The Florida Division of Elections, and I'll tell you what the other states are, has a contract, sole source contract. It's bullshit. These guys are in Tallahassee. This election company, they're like protected, right? And with the RP, the Republican Party of Florida, they're all circle the wagons to defend VR Systems for me, right? And these other guys. That's not their job in government. That's not the job, right? And so they're in Georgia, they're in North Carolina, they're I think Wisconsin, they're in DC, I think they're in New York, and there's a lawsuit in New York, and so what they did in the public, this is something that's real, and in my lawsuit down here, I filed a I just lost. Oh, there you go. I filed this public records. Before I filed the public records lawsuit, I filed a criminal complaint and grand jury probe about this election, what I thought was election fraud, to Bruce Bartlett, the Sixth Circuit State Attorney appointed by DeSantis, right? And they closed the case without even interviewing me, the alleged victim. They just talked to the supervisor of election, and they took their whatever the commands were from Trump down to DeSantis, down through, and they closed it after 40 days or something. Called me up on the phone and said, investigator says, we closed the case, no crime, nothing to see here. The system works as designed. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
exactly.
So a couple of weeks later, I file a public records request. They delay it for 7 months, and in November, I get their production of the records, right? There are over, in what I submitted to them, now, these are the documents I submitted to them as attachments, exhibits, right? Them being the state attorney's office. There are 159 references to VR systems that are erased, not redacted. They're blanked out in my own submittals to them, the records. It's not like I don't know they're going to blank these things out. And VR Systems is not a trade secret. They're claiming trade secret, right? The name of the company is not a trade secret. It's public knowledge. The name Amazon Web Services and their data center in Northern Virginia, where they host it, not a trade secret. Amazon is not a trade secret. The name of the software, Voter Focus, blanked. Not a trade secret. So what they're engaging in, I call it narrative suppression. They're breaking the law to suppress the narrative that VR Systems and Voter Focus had a database software issue that required a patch that generated falsified election records in the hundreds of thousands and transmitted interstate over the wire down here to Florida, right? Knowing they were fake, right? So the narrative, that's the narrative, the phrases that are, that's the narrative they're suppressing. And so that's why they don't want the name VR Systems showing up in, the AIs and in search results. It's all about Dominion. It's all about 2020. It's all about Smartmatic,
Okay.
right? You don't want to talk about VR Systems. So VR Systems, the no ballot bug is what I call it. That's what I call this.
Here's my question.
Enough about election fraud, unless anybody has any questions.
I want to follow up here. So these are the voting machines. They're called. It's
not the counters. It's not the machines that count the ballots, right? Those down here are Dominion, I think.
Okay.
Right? VR Systems runs the electronic poll books where they check you in, right, to polling stations. That's EVID. It's called EVID, EVID. Voter Focus is the election management voter registration system and the mail ballot processing software. It's hosted in a multi-tenant cloud service up in Amazon in Northern Virginia. It's a cloud service, and so it's this architecture infrastructure that crosses the states.
Is it keeping people from getting their mail-in ballots? Is that what it does? Is that what...
Here's
potentially.
So the falsified vote by mail reports is one level. The level I've discovered and exposed, right? Who knows what secrets lie beneath the no ballot bug, right? What I do know is that there are enough instances that Chris Gleason and other candidates have raised. There was a woman that ran for Congress, a Republican woman, Neelam Perry, over in Tampa, who walked into herself. She did not order a mail-in ballot. She walks in to vote here in Pinellas County with her campaign manager, checks in with the poll book person, the poll worker, and they say, "You already voted by mail. You can't vote." That's a congressional candidate who had their vote stolen via mail ballot fraud, right? There are cases where a bunch of mail-in ballots were returned as undeliverable by the post office that were voted and counted. Things like that.
Oh, okay.
Right? And another woman named Allison Green, her Substack is It's Up to Us. I'd highly recommend that. She's the best investigative journalist we talk all the time. She's got this thing where 1 out of every 10 voters can be subtracted from the voter rolls and one more added, right, for Republicans. And so she's been tracking that, and that's that's the counting layer, right? Who gets to vote? Who gets to be counted? So that's the Elon Musk, access to, it's an algorithm that triggers anytime this is the math part of it. Anytime the voter turnout in any precinct hits 60% or above, this algorithm triggers, and you start seeing the Democrat creep down in terms of the voter registration numbers, because they publish those daily on the supervisor elections website. And if you scrape that every day and AI that stuff, you can see this thing that triggers. You can even when it's in like blue precincts, right? Heavy blue precincts, right? It tracks that, and it's cross states, right? It's so what happened in 24 was Trump won every swing district in every swing state. Well, every district in every swing state by just enough to not trigger an automatic recount. The chances of that happening, I mean, Harris didn't win any of them. If you go back and look at the results all across the nation, you remember MSNBC, if you watched MSNBC, and people are like, oh, right? The red wave. That's an algorithm, right? That's not human voting behavior. That's not. There's a statistical, analysis you can do. Okay, this is the normal human, patterns. So that's a whole other layer that I don't have in my lawsuit because I can't prove it, right? But I can prove what I've filed lawsuits in now because I have the records. I don't even need discovery to prove it. It's the government's own records that are fake, that have already been published.
I got a question. How does this race similar to Hillary Clinton? Were they still using these same machines?
Yeah. In the 2016 election, VR systems got hacked by the Russian GRU, right? Trump wins Florida, right? Trump went, we know how that went. And they've been inside, right? They hacked. So if you Google this or AI this, search, they hacked 2 supervisor elections in Florida. And this is in the GRU stuff. It was Washington County and St. Lucie County. That's St. Lucie's on the East Coast. And they came in through the tax collector's office, where the tax collectors here are basically the DMV in Florida, right? So they maintain your Florida driver's license, right? They also, you can register to vote when you get your driver's license, right? So the intersection of the right to vote and the right to drive, the privilege to drive, those 2 ID numbers, and they're the tax collector, so they also have your social security number, right? So this nexus of 3 pieces of information, they got your 4. You got address, you've got social, last 4 or all of it, you've got the Florida ID number and the name, right? If you hack the tax collector in any given county, there's one in every county, you can submit, you can change the registration record, the voter registration record. You can create your own fake ID, if you get your own fake IDs, and you can go into the tax collector. That actually happened here in Florida. Fake IDs created with a Russian named Dmitry Shushlebin in 2023, 2024. The Biden DOJ started prosecuting her. The down here in Pinellas County, they tried to hack the supervised elections here in Pinellas. It's the same thing that I'm dealing with.
Okay.
So the Russians were back in 2016. So I'm going to say this because Democrats like to be holier than thou. We don't believe in election fraud, right? Bullshit. Just because 2020 wasn't fraudulent, doesn't mean 2016 and 2024 aren't.
And just because we won doesn't mean it wasn't fraudulent either. I mean, it could have been, true. They could have cheated and we just overcame that, right?
Yeah, and the Democrats could have cheated too. I don't know. I don't have evidence.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
I don't have evidence of that. I'm an engineer, right? Science, technology, engineering, math guy. I'm the only STEM candidate in my 10-way primary.
Yeah. Well, just assuming that everything went fine isn't a very responsible thing. Well, that's a big system, and it just gets a little bit extreme. I want to empower people a little bit. I mean, how can we get around this? Is the mail-in the best way to go? Should we register as Republicans so that they don't change? I mean, would any of those tactics work? What are your thoughts?
I guess what you're asking is how can each one of us?
Yes. I want to give the people who are listening some hope that we should go out and vote and win, and that we can still have a chance. I'm
selfish about this. The best way you can fight this election integrity attack is donate to my campaign so I can go up against Anna Polina and take her out. That's a 2-vote swing in Congress. First thing I sign is the impeachment, the impeachment bill. Yeah. Boom! I signed that on day 1. I'm a courage candidate now. That's what that's all about. 2, I introduced the National Defense Act of 2027 as a bill, right? And what I talked about earlier about moving money from mass deportations over to anti-child sex trafficking, interdiction, and all that, including a ton of FBI forensic accountants, right, to go after these bankers that enabled Epstein and Trump and all these guys and Putin too. Right. So, I mean, at this moment in Pinellas County, in this swing district, with this opponent, Republican opponent, and my 10-way primary Democrat field, right? The best way you can help, because I'm already doing this. I'm not just talking about doing it. I'm investing my own life savings. And I'm basically a millionaire pauper by this time. Millionaire, and then I got a million ideas. a million strategies. But I'm a pauper. I'm on Social Security disability, right? And I just had to spend $405 for my verified emergency petition for writ of mandamus and temporary restraining order, John Liccione versus Donald J. Trump, that I filed.
Nice.
So this is a good segue. On April 7th at 3:27 p.m., which was about 4.5 hours before Trump talked out on nuking Iran. So I don't know if, it's said that correlation doesn't mean causation, but I'll take it. All right, I did that. I didn't invent the internet, but I did this. I don't know if Trump knows about it yet, but I suspect he does because these guys might.
Boy, yeah. I guess the secret police are coming to all our houses later this evening.
Yeah, come get me. You know what? Elect
Thanks,
me.
Walter.
Yeah, what about that, Margaret?
You donate to my campaign. I'm getting crushed by the Democratic Party down here. They've got their chosen 2 candidates. It ain't me. It ain't me, Lord.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Right. And so I'd like to spend a minute communicating what's in this, right? Because the language is important, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind.
Okay. I won't read it all. It's 26 pages. I'll just give you the highlights.
Just the good parts. Just give us the good parts.
This is the way it starts.
Leave the kissing out. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
This is an emergency of the highest constitutional magnitude. At 8:06 a.m., April 7th, Trump, I'm just going to shorten things. Trump publicly posted the following statement to his verified Truth Social account. And I think we all know what he said, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whole civilization will die tonight, yada, yada, yada. So petitioner Liccione, I give a little bio on myself. I basically, that's page 3. Here we go. Petitions the court. I petitioned the court pursuant to this code, that code, this law for an emergency writ of mandamus, compelling respondent Trump to refrain from ordering or authorizing or facilitating any nuclear first strike or civilization ending military action against Iran, absent, as further defined herein, A, an actual imminent nuclear attack upon the territory of the United States or its armed forces, constituting an existential threat to the American homeland, or B, and this is the kicker, because we got to give the military the cover to say no here. B, absent a formal declaration of war or specific statutory authorization enacted by the Congress. No declaration of war exists. No statutory authorization exists. The conditions precedent to lawful nuclear use have not been satisfied. The threatened action is unconstitutional on its face and must be enjoined now before tonight, right? So 5 hours before 8 o'clock, right, on the 6th. So that's sort of the intro part. And I'll skip over the parties. It's me and Trump and his agents. It's not just Trump, right? It's his agent. It's Pete Kegsett, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Oh my God.
Stephen Miller.
You want to list them all, right?
And it's the generals that
thousands of pages.
control. It's the nuclear football guy that follows Trump around too, right? Don't give him the frickin'. Don't open the football, right? If he orders you to launch, you run away with the football.
Yeah. That's try to score. Yeah, go spike it in the ocean.
And this is so not funny. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it light.
It's called gallows humor. I mean, everything. That's what we have to do. We have to have this pressure valve. And there was a couple comments. Everybody wants. We're fighting for humanity here. Sometimes you do just have to let it out.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Right. So, a notice to military officers in particular, the legal duty to refuse this order. Trump's post constitutes public notice of a planned military order that will kill a civilization tonight. And since he tacoed, this is even more important because the order hasn't been issued yet, right? So it's still pending. So senior military officers, including the SecDef, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, commander of U.S. Strategic Command, and all nuclear command authority personnel are hereby on notice of the following. And I'm an Intel, U.S. Air Force guy, so I can speak this language. I can speak it to Republicans. I used to be a Reagan Republican years ago before switching to 20. I can speak this language to them. In order to execute or facilitate an action designed to kill a civilization without congressional authorization and absent an imminent nuclear attack on the U.S. homeland is not a lawful military order. And if you want to, I I don't have retirement pay. I got out of the Air Force after 6 years. So, hey, Kegseth, come after mine. Try to come after my retirement.
Yeah.
Right. Give me the power of subpoena over you, Kegseth. I'll get your records. Under the UCMJ article, blah, blah, liability attaches only to failure to obey lawful orders. This order is not lawful. The Nuremberg principle codified. And by the way, my lawyer is Claude Anthropic, by the way. That's my lawyer. I don't
Yeah, let's write down that name, Margaret. Well, we're going to have to get to know this guy for our own protection.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I need to mix up.
No, just get a Claude subscription.
Okay.
That's all you
So it's not a person? Yeah.
The U.S. military law and the DoD law of war manual requires refusal of orders requiring the commission of war crimes. The killing of a civilization is a war crime. I shouldn't even have to say it. Officers who refuse are acting in conformity with their oaths to the Constitution, the UCMJ, and the law of armed conflict. No lawful court-martial can result from the refusal of a manifestly unlawful order, let alone one Armageddon or ordering Armageddon against 90 million people. This court's issuance of a writ of mandamus and temporary restraining order provides explicit federal judicial authority for such refusal, a binding federal court order that supersedes an unlawful presidential directive. This is a preemptive strike.
Okay.
Right. And it gives notice to every commander in the in the nuclear, and we have a nuclear triad. We have bombers, right? Mm-hmm. We have ICBMs and we have subs, right? ICBMs launch from subs. And I guess we have tactical nukes too. But everyone with the command authority of release of nuclear weapons and in the field, right?
Okay.
The officers in the missile silos, everybody needs to know to refuse this.
Is this
right? Because once the order comes through the football, you can't stop it. Right? It's unless you watch the movie. What's that movie? Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide. Yep.
Yeah, I love that movie with Denzel.
Let me ask you though. This is just. Ahead. I mean, this document. I mean, we're a lawsuit. I love what you're doing, but at the same time, we've seen what our court system does. It's like 6 months after they've been doing something illegal, they say, "Oh, well, actually, that was illegal." I mean,
I know. Isn't that frustrating? I feel like I'm teaching the court system how to deal with this renegade RICO enterprise, right? There's this concept of presumption of regularity within the DOJ or any state attorney, right?
Even now,
the court, especially if I walk in there pro se without a lawyer, right? They look at me like I'm just some bum coming in off the street, doesn't know how to write, a motion or whatever or a complaint.
You got to get a robot.
They immediately assume, they presume because the lawyer that's representing my opponent is a lawyer that they never become a Rudy Giuliani kind of lawyer, right? Or a Sidney Powell. They would not put their law license at risk to do something illegal. Like, give me a freaking break. Give me a freaking break.
Let me ask you though.
So the presumption of regularity at the DOJ is demolished. There is no regularity. And the judges are finally coming to the point. They're slow, right? And maybe that's good, but maybe not. It's too slow, no go. But they're stepping up their game. Judge Boasberg in D.C. They're kicking out all these illegal U.S. attorneys. Lisa Halligan. Who are the other ones? There's Lisa Halligan and the one in Alina Habba. Right? Yeah. They're kicking the U.S. attorney appointments out. I think it's in Colorado, maybe. Right? So it's the chief judges in the federal courts in these districts. That's Northern Virginia, New Jersey, out there, and they're stepping up. And the judges, if I were a space alien commander, and I looked at the three nuclear powers, China, Russia, and the United States, and I didn't want to pull a independent state, exterminate the human race because I need the humans for slave labor, or whatever, or maybe they're good food, right? Yeah. So how do I infiltrate humanity, right? Well, if you look at, say, Russia, all you got to do is compromise Putin, right? If I'm the alien space lizard, I just mind control Putin, and I got Russia with the biggest the biggest number of nukes. And if I just take out Z over in China, that's just one guy, right? They have the communist, Politburo, but screw it, it's really the one guy. But then if you look at the U.S., our constitutional republic limits the power of government, They have equal, separation of powers. We have 3 branches, right? So if you wanted to take out the executive branch, you'd compromise Trump. Or you compromise Putin and then have Putin compromise Trump, right? Which is what has happened here, actually. Not the space lizard part. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So in order to take down America without firing a shot, which is the subtitle of my book, by the way, A Grand Unifying Theory of Putin-Trump, you've got to take down the president. You got to take down enough of the majority of the Supreme Court members, or at least enough to get rulings like we're seeing. Presidential immunity. The president's hacked, right? But he has immunity even in a hacked state, right? It's ridiculous. And then you got to take out both houses of branches of Congress, the legislature, right? And if you track back to 16 onward, in particular, in February 2023, there was a bill introduced into the House. Not a bill, it was a resolution called the Ukraine Fatigue Resolution. And Matt Gaetz was the sponsor. Anna Paulina Luna signed on. There were like 12 co-signers. The Ukraine Fatigue Resolution was, that was 12 Congress people, the Freedom Caucus, was the beachhead in Congress that Putin was able to establish. And it happened in February 2023. And when I saw that happen, I didn't even know who Luna was when I moved down to Florida. When I saw that happen, I was like, who's my rep? It's Anna Paulina Luna. She just threw Ukraine under the bus. She's a Putin puppet, right? That's why I ran in 2024. I saw this coming in back then. Mm-hmm. And so they've from there they went to the Senate. They've seemed to even been compromised Fetterman with the way he's voting now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And so they won Congress back. They won back Congress. They infiltrated our elections. They hacked our elections. And now, so they've got both houses of Congress, but we had the House and the Senate, right? Or the House at least. And that's my cat in the litter box behind me. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought somebody came in the door. Here they come.
He's doing this thing. Yeah. And so they got the executive. Once they get Trump takes over the DOJ, wipes it out, purge. He fires all the JAGs in the military branches. The UCMJ is gone, right? Yeah. He takes over the intelligence agencies. He fires the NSA director, primary. You take over NSA, you got the keys to the kingdom, encryption keys to the kingdom. You take over the DIA, you take over the CIA and the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, yada yada. And it's the executive branch is compromised as an organization, as a system. It's systematically hacked. And whether it's the alien space lizard pulling the strings ultimately, who knows? I don't actually put that as an impossibility.
Yeah.
So we're a tough nut to crack. So if you were going to crack America, if you're going to hack America, American democracy, the constitutional republic we have, this is how I would do it. This is like Dr. Evil shit, right? Yeah. This is how you do it.
Okay, I got a question though. I've just seen that Nancy Pelosi finally came out and said we have to look out for voting manipulation, and she finally said it like in 2026. Does that, because it's like these are supposed to be people who are competent and capable, and the entire Democratic establishment had to know that this stuff has been going on. They have to have heard about this.
Of course.
I've been suggesting that they deliberately pushed, the glass cliff. We just set up Kamala Harris to fail so that because they're racist, there's a big contingent among the Democrats who are racist. Are there also just as many Democrats who are compromised? Is that the thought? And I mean, this is why I think we need to just vote everybody out, get new blood in there, and the primaries are so critical. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me go back to 2016. I was going to vote. I wasn't a Democrat for the primary, but I would have voted. I voted for Hillary, but I would have preferred Bernie, right? Because Bernie spoke
they rigged
to
that
the
primary. That primary was rigged.
Right?
That was,
and so they did what they did to me in 2024 out loud. The Democratic Party, they did to Bernie secretly, and it took Russian hackers to hack in to the DNC, to those email accounts, and then dumped them on. Thanks, Julian Assange, dumped them over with Assange on WikiLeaks. Dumped them, put them out to the world, and that helped cause the loss. Part of the reason why Hillary Clinton ultimately lost. But if Bernie had been nominated, he was like polling 10 points ahead, of Trump in a head-to-head. So going back to then, now Nancy Pelosi, she's got a stellar career. She's a great lady, but not understanding and putting the pieces together about what's going on. We were also sort of bewildered. And when I wrote my book, I had come out of a state of bewilderment. It was like I had this vision of the future that was very dark.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this book. It's like I won't call it a manifesto. It's just a foundational piece of my belief system. And so, she's a great lady. She needs to step down. We need young blood or old blood, sort of old blood like me.
Well, no ideas can be in, it's like, but she's, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so Democrats aren't willing to go the extra step to do something a little I engage in creative nonviolence, right? This lawsuit is an act of creative nonviolence.
But they're not even acknowledging the problem, and they're deliberately suppressing our ability to have these kinds of conversations. I'm sure that the sitting Democrats are talking to you. Every time they get up in front, all they sit there and say is, well, we're not the party of election denial, which is offensive when you think of how big of an infrastructure it is. I mean, we have to constantly be on guard against attempts to manipulate our elections. That's just common sense. That's just doing your job.
Well, the messaging is, first of all, the messaging is wrong. Democrats like to get the messaging wrong a lot, especially if you're trying to message.
Well, is it deliberate or is it malicious? I mean, are they compromised or are they just, confused? What do you think?
I think there are some that are compromised, taking China and APAC money, too much. And so they're doing what they're told. But with Nancy Pelosi, finally coming to the realization since 2016.
Yeah.
So the we're not election deniers crap. Stop using the word deniers, right? Let's just start using election integrity.
Yeah. Well, she blocked AOC from the oversight committee, so it's like, what the hell's going on with that? I mean, and then the guy they put in died of, and it's like, I'm sorry for his family, but we just knew we elected this criminal to the highest office. We can't be blocking. She's one of these people that advocates. I mean, she's always had something against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The Democrats absolutely refuse to get behind these progressive movements. They'll deliberately oppress. And that's why I think it's like I think they know that Kamala got cheated. It's like the fact that they're now starting to say, well, this is something I have to worry about. I think a lot of Democrats have to go to jail too.
Let's talk about Kamala for a second. I voted for Kamala. But I didn't like the fact that the Democratic Party selected that they canceled the the primaries across the nation, right? I don't like that Joe Biden didn't do, great man. It took a terrible debate for him to finally step down. Took too long. But Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, too slow, no go too. Right, Merrick Garland, too slow, no go. Look where we are now, right?
Yeah.
They didn't rise to the moment. The southern border. It took them 3 years to introduce a bill on securing the southern border. Too long, too slow. It gives the enemy, it gives the other side a vulnerability they can exploit. Right? You can just take that vulnerability off the table if you propose a system, a national, a southern border defense system that's high tech, not a dumb wall. This is what we hire more immigration judges. More throughput. We have lie detectors, right? So the criminals can't get through, if they lie, if they try to lie.
Yeah, but our the criminals are among the white supremacists already in the country. I mean, immigrants do not commit crimes, and the ones that are coming through, you have a year to apply for asylum. So this immigration has just been a completely fabricated nonsense by the right because they're white supremacists who want to exterminate anybody who doesn't look like them. So that's
one last word about Kamala. The fact that she didn't fight for election integrity because Democrats don't believe in election denial, and instead she went and went on a book tour.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I'm out here fighting for election integrity. I'm not just running for office. I'm engaging in offensive lawfare on in the defense of our election integrity and have been for 18 months, right? Where's Kamala? Right?
She should be
Where's
talking to us on
Pelosi,
these.
right?
I wonder though if they're having this shift because Pelosi just came out. Maybe if they're willing to take on the fight, if we pressure them enough with different kind of candidate like you, start getting this discussion going, maybe we'll see some of the ones currently in power start to wake up. I still want to primary them, but I want to get them activated so they're actually doing something now.
Yeah, and not having a primary suppresses the vote, the Democratic vote.
Well, they're anti-primary everywhere, and that's why I've been interviewing all these. It's like if you are anti-primary, you are anti-democracy. That allows them to. And I've been hearing all these accounts of Democrats calling up progressive grassroots candidates who are gathering momentum and telling them to step down. And I need them to start doing that out in the open. If they want to have phone calls, call me. Hey, we can do it to everyone. Save you guys some time. Let's just do it online so everybody can see what you guys are all about. You know, if you want to,
well,
if you're
they wouldn't dare to call me after 2024. They wouldn't dare. That would just make me want to want more. Right.
Well, I hope if they call you, you tell me the name of the person who does, and then we'll let it and record that phone call because I mean, we got to know who's not working for us in the government. Margaret, do you have anything to add?
Well, I just wanted to say, do we want to check the comments? I can check the comments and see what people have to say.
Yeah, if you like.
Yeah, let's let's open up the questions. I'm looking at I totally ignored the comments. I'm sorry. I'm just ranting.
No, it's all good.
I'm just reluctant. I mean, the Democratic establishment has been wanting to just blame Kamala Harris, so I'm reluctant to be pushed in that direction. I do feel a little bit of frustration with this book stuff. But I feel Kamala is a person of integrity, and I think she got really bad information. I think there were people that were suppressing information from her. So they got a lot on their plate, and I mean, it's easy. Sometimes it can be easy to fool a person of integrity because they're trusting the people around them, you know. True. And I think that's kind of it. So I'm willing to give Kamala the benefit of the doubt. I am frustrated by our situation as much as anybody, and yes. Maybe if we push and get this narrative out there a little more, if she's willing to start coming on, I mean, I'm always willing to give people a second chance to people who give us a platform and are willing to talk about these things. Those are the ones I believe. And I'm just going to do everything I can to keep platforming all these progressive candidates who are willing to fight.
Hey, Kamala is on Substack.
Yeah, she can come on. All you guys, go send her a message. All 130, tell her to come and talk to me and Margaret. Hey, well, I reviewed her book. I read her book, so she can come. We can talk about her book, and then just 5 minutes at the end for election integrity.
Let's talk about my book.
Yeah. You can do that too.
You know what? I should go on my own book tour. That. And by the way, just so everybody knows, we got 132 people. JohnForPinellas.com is my campaign website.
Okay,
John for Pinellas. It's Pinellas. I put it in the chat earlier. I should do it again.
I got it for you.
Okay.
I'll also make sure to include your links also when I publish the article as well.
There it is. You can donate on the page. It's my bio, my John story, how I came to be the guy with the fire in my. I mean, I was an engineer. I invent things that solve societal problems like disaster recovery in real time. I invented that. I actually did invent that. World's first real-time disaster recovery system for corporate email and BlackBerries. Young folks that might be listening, the BlackBerry is a cell phone. I'm a boomer.
Like it. It had a keyboard on it. I'm a writer. I like a keyboard,
Right. So I invented that, patented it, rolled it out as a multi-tenant cloud service before we even called it cloud, and signed up the IMF as one of my first customers. They could fail over the BlackBerries and a corporate 5,000 email boxes on Microsoft Exchange in 15 minutes with a button click on a web console. I invented that.
Nice.
And if you look up Liccione patent, John Liccione patent, you
nice.
Get to see the patent.
Can you create something that helps spam all the universe with positive, I get all these bot comments. Can you do something like that spreads some love?
Yeah, it's like it's AI on the side of the angels. We need more of that kind of AI. Like Anthropic, right? Anthropic took a stand against autonomous weapons release with AI, and they got fired by Putin, Trump, and Kegseth. So I swear. So I was on GPT and Grok, right? And as soon as I saw that, I was like, screw that. I'm putting my money over here with Anthropic. And so I switched to Claude, and wow, it's better. So everybody, I'm not an investor in Anthropic. I'm just a user. So when I said this lawsuit against Trump that I just filed, this TRO petition, my lawyer is Claude Anthropic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I missed that. I was in the busy with a joke and I missed that. But I'm anti. I spent all this time learning how to write myself. I stay away from AI stuff.
I'd like to play a quick game.
Okay.
It's if you were president, who would be your cabinet picks? Okay, and I'm going to give you mine first. Right. If I run in 2028, first of all, if I were to run in 2028 and incited, this is a poem I wrote. It's a song I wrote. Incite an insurrection at the Capitol gates. No one's above the law, and I should be indicted too. So set the precedent now, folks, or our democracy's screwed.
Yeah.
And that's the indictment song by John Liccione. It's up on my YouTube, I think, up on my YouTube channel. But anyway, who would be my cabinet? Secretary of Defense. I'm starting with D&I because I'm an intel guy. Director of National Security, Malcolm frickin' Nance. He's the best source of intelligence on Substack, and I watch his show. He's like my radio, my Morning Joe, my Morning Malcolm. Every day I get the Iran war update from Malcolm, and he's a former NSA Navy intel analyst and Arabic linguist, and I was a Korean linguist in the Air Force, so we have that in common. So he'd be my D&I. Secretary of Defense would probably be Adam Kinzinger, right? That's a man of courage and a man of honor.
I'm an anti-Kinzinger guy. I don't like that he said, but go ahead. I don't like that he said we should have sent the troops in to Iran. He didn't like what do you call it? He had it all wrong about that blowing up the enrichment centers. He has the science wrong there. So I'm not a big fan of Kinzinger.
All right. So who would your pick be if you were president?
For what was this department?
SecDef.
You know, the first you're catching me off guard, so I don't know. But I was thinking for Attorney General, I want Letitia James. So let's jump to that one.
My Attorney General would be Jack Smith.
He's on my list too. Yeah.
All right. What he did with his two cases, that second indictment is going to come out eventually. Judge Eileen Cannon, she needs to be impeached.
Yeah.
Right?
And let me just say too, I like, we've had this a couple of times. We've had some nice little back and forths. It's all with respect. I appreciate that, John. So it's just kind of like, we've been doing that. That's fun.
Vice President. It's
if you're president,
there's a couple I'd interview, right? I'd interview Gretchen Whitmer, Val Demings from Florida. I like both of those ladies for a VP. I think there needs to be a woman in the White House or as vice president or in the vice president executive. What is it called? The Eisenhower building across the street. I've worked with and for women before. The best boss I ever had was a woman when I stood watching NSA when I was in my 20s. She was she manned the desk. And so anyway, we don't need any more kegsets, misogynists running that.
Stacey Abrams would be high up there for me for vice president.
She's really good. She's really good. I really like her. She's got fire in her belly. Then there's Secretary of State. I'm blanking on her name. The woman that used to run the Russian desk. No, she used to. She testified at the impeachment hearing about Ukraine. I can't remember her name. I'm blanking. She's an English accent. I'm blanking on it. But the Secretary of State, there's a couple of choices there, and I'll stop there. Those are
Bernie. We got a place for Bernie in this. Bernie Sanders. He'd be a.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
I also like. Is there a question?
Yeah, Margaret.
Yes. What about Crockett? People asking about Crockett. What would you do with her?
We'd have a place for her. I
love Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett and AOC rock. I love They're fire. They're whip smart, and very powerful. Very powerful. They're the next generation of leaders, and the running against James Tallarico in Texas for senator. I didn't like to see that, right? But we needed, because she was in the House already, right?
Well, she got district. They took her out of her district, so she had to do something else.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Texas,
right. I don't know.
Texas wanted to be done with her. I mean, the Republicans have been after her.
I'd have to think about a cabinet position for Jasmine Crockett. I could see her as the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, that'd be a good spot.
Why go small, folks?
Yeah.
Go big or stay home. I mean, that's like what, another 30, 40 years. I don't know how old she is. But she can certainly speak in the House. Right?
She stands up. She's one of the few that's shown us a lot of fight. I think you're showing us a lot of fight to do today too, John. So I appreciate that.
Kat said that Crockett should replace Ted.
Yeah. When's that election coming? That'll be another 2 or 4 years or so when that.
I'm sorry, replace who? Who
Ted
is that?
Cruz.
Ted Cruz, but I thought Ted Cruz was going to become a Supreme Court justice, according to didn't Trump want him for the Supreme Court?
I call him Ted Lose. It's so easy, Ted Lose.
We got to do something though. I mean, what do we do about all this election manipulation though? I mean, how do we? Can we still overcome it with just numbers?
If you control the IT, right, it doesn't matter the turnout. It doesn't matter canvassing. None of that will matter if we don't unhack our election system. And when I say unhack, I mean that in the general sense. Cyber is just one way to hack a system, right? This is a system. In America, we don't have an election system. We have a system of elections, right, in each state and territory. So at each state is in ways, the role of the federal government is to provide backup to the states, right? Here are the standards, right? We got NSA, right? NSA can help set the standards within the NIST for election and for cybersecurity. There are cybersecurity standards already, right? The DoD. I ran the DoD, my company Tenable's cybersecurity scanning contract worldwide across every military installation for that deployment between 2011 and 2015, which sort of made me a target myself. I didn't realize I had a target on my back.
Everybody does these days. I mean, that's what they did. That was their mistake. They put a target on all our backs, so there's no point in keeping our heads down anymore, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, where were we? I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the system of the election and how we can get around it.
Okay. Yeah. So it needs to be. It needs to be certainly nonpartisan, bipartisan, and tripartisan, with the third one being independence, right? So there needs to be a combination of oversight, right, in Congress, and panels and boards in each state that where a Democrat, Republican, and independent can monitor it. Just not like the Republican administration in Florida supervisors of elections, right? It isn't just you observe through a window, which is the way they do it now. They throw people out if they ask questions. Even the Republicans get thrown out. There's a guy, Jeff Bongiorno, over in Palm Beach County. He's a MAGA Republican that's suing for the same reason. The mail ballot, no ballots, and they threw him out of the supervised elections down in Palm Beach, and he's got a lawsuit that's. I think it's up on appeal in Florida right now. So we need to pass legislation at the state levels, right? Because the states control this. We need to re-engineer this system, right? It's a system that is too vulnerable in too many ways. And this SAVE Act that Anna Paulina Luna introduced, right? I'm actually for having to provide ID, right? And it's probably a good thing, even though it's not really a big problem that we shouldn't spend a lot of money trying to solve because it's not such a big problem. It's the idea of having to prove your citizenship, right? But if you knife edge implement that, like it has to be in by the midterms, you disenfranchise how many tens of millions of women that have a different last name than what they were born with. I mean, if you don't have time, if you're not, I mean, even with, what is it, the Real ID license, the IDs, right? Real ID. How long did that get phased in? It went final not too long ago, like last year, I think, when you had to have Real ID to get on a plane.
Yeah.
Right, to get
well, the Republicans are just not honest about anything. They claim like it sounds good, and it's all deliberately designed to disenfranchise.
Yeah, it's patently, it's a pretext, right? It's just a pretext, right? So the way that Democrats should be countering that, if you want to win independents and moderate Republicans to vote for you in a general election, is not to say I'm against, I'm for non-citizens voting, or I'm against people having to produce IDs that can be mapped back to a citizen database at each state level, or a birth certificate. I don't think that's over time a bad thing, as long as it's properly funded.
Well, save as an opportunity.
Maybe there's a stipend you get, or a little grant, right? Maybe federal grants to the states, right? You have to fund it to implement that kind of massive change. It can't be a knife edge implementation, and it has to be funded. It's not just SAVE Act. You got to have a birth certificate match your.
Well, this is what's weird about it to me is it's an opportunity for Democrats to have conversations about election integrity, and it's like, well, this is what we want to do because the Republicans keep saying the elections are rigged. Yeah, let's look into these VR systems. Let's look into the count. Let's do all this. Because it's like the Republicans are giving us that open door, and then the existing crop of Democrats just punts. They just abdicate. They're just like, well, they're just, it's like they're off their rocker. And it's like, well, use it as a teachable moment. And it's exactly like you're saying, like the rhetoric has to change. We are over time a little bit. I don't want to keep, Margaret, do you have any other last thoughts here?
No, feel free to say what you want. It's all good.
Oh, I always just love seeing you, Margaret. We got a chance to talk a little bit more right in the beginning, and onward, ever onward. And again, I just want to thank John. And academic disagreement, we've displayed that a couple of times. We're like, I don't think that, you don't think, great. I'm glad that we don't disagree with each other on all things. This is what it means by the don't pass the purity testing. We don't have to agree with each other, but we can talk it through. We can share our ideas. We can see what we like, and we both evolve.
I just saw something. I learned something I didn't know about the SAVE Act. Military ID is not accepted. Holy crap!
Whoa!
Yeah, let's target the Democrats overseas serving our country.
Yeah. And the Republicans, they target everybody with that SAVE Act. So.
Wow.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much for being here. Any last thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, closing statement?
For you, yep.
All right. So I'm going to close where we started. Kids first above all else.
Yeah.
A nation that can't defend its children from rape and trafficking is morally bankrupt, right? And every time we implement policy, there ought to be a child impact statement, right? We have environmental impact statements. How is the SAVE Act going to impact kids? I don't know. Maybe not. How is mass deportation going to affect kids? Right? We see that with the little kids, in these raids and stuff. These policies, as a system, we need to elevate. Our children are our most precious national treasures, right? The Trump administration and the Trump family is so materialistic and all into building wealth through grift that. And what are they doing to protect children? Well, they're protecting pedophiles, right? And instead, we're just deporting en masse and have camps to housing. So I'll leave it at that. Leave where we started. Kids first above all else. John Liccione for Congress, Rebel Democrat in Florida's fighting 13th district. Donate to my campaign if you would. JohnForPinellas.com. You can donate up to $3,500 this year per individual. And I don't know what the PAC number is. I don't have any PAC donations, not yet. But I'll reject ones if I find the organization immoral in some way. So, but anyway, that's my closing. That's my call to action. My beg for money, and I'm done talking.
Perfect. Thanks so much, John. I appreciate that you're running. And again, I appreciate you'd come and talk to us just now. Margaret, last thought?
Thank you so much, sir, for your service. And I appreciate you. Okay. My heart's out for you. And I sincerely hope that you win.
No, thank you. Thank you. Where do you vote? Where are you registered?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
You gotta have me up there to do some salmon fishing. That's one of my bucket list items.
Oh, this a perfect place for it.
Perfect. I'm gonna just relax. All right. Are we shutting her down?
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, wait, she has one more thought.
Yeah, Walter, I appreciate you. You know, I'm with you 100%. Okay, I got you. Thank you so much,
Margaret, and John too, and all the
Likewise.
wonderful people. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye-bye all.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.